before I put the finish on, there's one thing we have to do to prepare the insert. This is the top part, and that will go into that hole when we're finished. And the length of this will have to be adjusted. As you can see, it's way too long. This mechanism allows you to make a PepperMill anywhere from, very short, maybe 4 or 5 inches, up to, I believe it's like 11 inches tall, or maybe even a little more than that, I'm not sure. But one thing we have to do is right on the two sides here, there's 2 spurs that stick out. And you can just jam those up into the hole, but it's very difficult. It's a one-shot deal, and you risk perhaps damaging some of the mechanism. So what I generally do is cut those off, and then it's a smooth fit into the hole that it recesses into. So that's what we'll do now. We'll cut those off. And now it'll fit up inside and seat inside that hole all the way that it's going to go when it's finished. The next thing we have to do is to cut this off, the shaft off, and we need to cut it off so that 1 1/8 inch protrudes from the top of the bottom section of the PepperMill up to the top of the shaft. And so I'm going to get my ruler and measure that out, and then cut that off with a hacksaw. Okay, there's what I cut off. And then after I cut, I usually take and sand down the end on a bit of an angle so that it's smoother. Somebody won't scratch their finger on it, and it'll also slide into the top portion a little easier that way. But now it fits in there, and it slides up, and I have my 1 1/8 inch protrusion, and we should be all set to put a finish on and complete this project. For finish, I'm going to use my old standby Midwax wipe-on poly. I like to put a polyurethane finish on these type of products that get handled a lot, because it tends to give them a little more strength and substance. After the poly is dry, I'll also be buffing it out on the buffing wheel just to give it a nice smooth finish. But I've got a little bit of the poly in my little plastic. This is the top from a margarine jar, and I've got 2 dowels set up here so I can set these on once I get them coated. In fact, I'll use leave them on there to do the very top part of it too. So it's just a matter of soaking the rag in the poly and giving it a good coating all the way around. The first coat soaks in pretty good, and you don't need to be too fussy with it. The subsequent coats you can be a little more fussy and get a little nicer finish on it, but put it on the dowel and then smooth off where my fingers were, and then do the same with the body itself. I don't put any on the inside, but I do the very top and the very bottom. I'll probably put 3 or 4 coats on, depending on how it looks after the second coat. The way this is soaking in, I think it's going to be a 4-coat job, but we'll see. I'll let it dry, and then I'll get a couple more coats on, and we'll be ready to buff it out and put this thing together. It's 3 days later now. That's how long it took me to get 4 coats of polyurethane on both pieces. It's good and dry now, and one thing that I don't like about polyurethane as a finish for these products is that as it comes straight off the drying table, it looks and feels rather plasticky, and I don't think that's the best look and feel for these type of products. And that's the reason I'm going to take it over to the buffing wheel and buff it out. That will remove the high gloss plasticky look to it and give it a much warmer and friendlier feel and look to the finished product. I'm not going to show the entire buffing process on camera. It just takes too long, and I think most turners are pretty familiar with buffing. Just to say a quick word about it, I use the Beal buffing system, and it's a great product. It works really well and does a fantastic job. If you don't have the system in your shop, my suggestion would be to get one. If you want to find out more about it, I think Jerry Beal has a video on YouTube that covers the entire system, how it works, and what you can do with it. And if you want to watch that, you can make up your own mind. It's not that expensive, and it just is a really nice thing to have around. So without any further discussion, I will get started on the buffing. It's all buffed out, and that plasticky look and feel is all gone. It just has a real nice warm feel to it. Now the final step in this process is to assemble it with the insert. To do that, I usually glue it in with some epoxy, both that part and then also this part that fits into the cap. I use the System 3 T88 epoxy, or any of the ones that set overnight rather than the quick 5-minute epoxies. I just think it holds better. It gives you a little better grip, and it's a little stronger. Okay, we're all mixed up. You want to mix up a fairly good batch, because you don't want to skimp. Otherwise it won't hold in there like you want it to. Then I just, using a little stick that I mixed it with, take a glob and just coat the second hole, which is where this PepperMill seats into. Okay, that should do it. Then it's just a matter of inserting that, putting it down in there, and I kind of give it a little bit of a turn just to get everything seated. Now this will have to sit overnight, so I usually take a couple of blocks of wood so I can sit it over upside down so that gravity keeps the plug inside there. Then do the same thing with the cap. And then this also has spurs on it, but they don't necessarily have to be cut off because they hold in pretty good. And then just push that in as far as it'll go. Set that down. Now we'll let it sit overnight, and tomorrow it's done, except for adding some peppercorns. It's the next day now, and the epoxy's all cured. It's sat overnight, so it's in there solid as a rock. And the only thing we have left to do is to put the top on. This round white part seats down into the hole there and automatically centers the top on the bottom. And that's it. That's all there is to it. The only thing left is to add some PepperMills and find something to cook. One nice feature about the crush grind mechanism is that you don't have to turn it all in the same direction and wear your wrist out. You can go back and forth like this, and it grinds just as good front as it does back. So there it is. That's the PepperMill. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. See you next time.